Welcome to the PowerShift podcast. I'm your host, Maggie Bio. Join me as we uncover how setbacks, challenges, and failures can become those pivotal moments that lead to purpose-driven, fulfilled lives. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing stories, insights, and tools to help you reclaim your power and show you how life's biggest challenges are happening for us, not to break us, but to redirect us toward the life we deeply desire. Whether you're here for inspiration, mindset shifts, or just to feel more aligned in your journey, you are in the right place. So whether you're catching a break, powering through, or squeezing in some me time, let's dive into the lessons hidden in life's ups and downs. We're here to embrace every unexpected twist, moving toward a life of passion, purpose, and authenticity. These stories, they are proof that you too can make those shifts happen. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the PowerShift podcast. I'm your host, Maggie, and today I have a special guest with me today, DeDee. And her and I met not too long ago, but our mission, our reasoning as to why we are doing what we are doing is very much resonant to so many people in the world right now. And so I'm super excited to dive into exactly what she does and why she's passionate about what she does and help you to understand you can go from undervaluing yourself to actually living with self-worth, passion. And it sounds like she talks about it from the inside out. So I'm super excited to welcome you to the stage. Please tell us exactly, what it is that you do and why you are so passionate about it. And we'll dive into all of that.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Maggie, for having me and just hosting this podcast, right? This is what I'm talking about, having these type of meaningful conversations. So that way we can empower each other, grow as we lift the others, So thank you so much for having me. Well, what exactly do I do? I would say I am a peak performance coach. I say that because my work is very holistic. It is all based on my personal journey in healing myself, you name it, from a trauma. As young as 15, I was sexually assaulted, and then having to really learn about how I need to value myself and stand up for who I am and really say no. And what I get to do when I say building women up and really building wealth from the inside out is because exactly of my experiences, like those pivotal moments of my life actually happened for me to be in front of you today to talk about this topic. And if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't know that there was room for growth. I am a work in progress, and there's always that next level. And I really honestly allow my business to evolve and just staying faithful to the process and to my growth and really staying committed to that. Today, I really get to teach women how to build worth to wealth, meaning how to feel confident being in their own skin, how to understand money and what it really means in their business from a very personal level. I was raised on scarcity. I mean, I was born in a third world country. I was raised a first generation immigrant, and you name it. And so to overcome everything that I have to be here today has been life changing. And so yeah, I'm not sure where we want to start because I want to talk about everything, but it's really truly, unless you are willing to invest in yourself and really believe in your own potential, that is it. That is the
Yeah.
beginning in it all for me.
Yeah, I love that. I talk a lot about that as well as, I think we all have experiences in our lives and you hit it kind of on the head with you had a pivotal moment at the age of 15. I don't know how old you are now. We don't have to disclose that, but I think that everybody needs to understand that your pivotal moments, especially I talk about the power shift and that means really when was that moment in your life that you decided that you could see your value. You could see the worth that you had, the potential that you bring to this world. And through sometimes it happens in a way that you might be like, why? Why is this happening? But there's such that moment of, I talk about the beauty and the chaos and the redirect or the thing that's happened in your life. And so I would love to kind of dive into your story where you decided, you had a pivotal moment at 15. We don't have to talk about that one, but where in your life was that pivotal moment for you, or pivotal moments? I feel like there's a lot of times where we have to address that, like you said, work in progress. We're never done growing. And I think that's what's so valuable to people to understand is when you're just beginning that journey or that transformation, the power shift, the pivotal moment that just happened in your life. Let's dive into yours a little bit where you maybe were in that very moment where you thought, what is happening? What's going on? And you were able to find the clear silver lining in there.
Yeah, I have to say there's so many moments, like you said, but definitely like two major and pivotal ones. One I have already mentioned at 15. That was the very first moment when everything happened. I was like, what? Why did I not say no? Like, why did I not stand up for myself? Like, what is happening? So that was the first time where I started questioning
Mm.
my actions and my really uh intention, like, or do I did like what's happened to my voice, right? And so, but of course, it was just I was so young, right? Like I was so young. I did everything that I could just follow the next step. And I
Mm.
had my plan for following through with going to school, doing really well, even all through college, put myself through school full time and working full time, took care of the family. I'm the only child. And of course, family relationship is another story, but essentially, I had to grow up really fast. My dad uh, did the best he could and everything, but we were also abandoned by him too. So fast forward to the second biggest pivotal moment of my life was after all of that, I still went on and did my thing. I did really well. Didn't really last in corporate though. For 6 months, I really felt like I was in prison. And then right after that, I was in the middle of deciding should I go to medical school or because I pre-meded and I went to school to be a psychiatrist. Should I go to medical school or should I start a business? That's also when I had the opportunity. My mom asked me to be her business partner to open a
Mm.
restaurant. So I jumped on that opportunity thinking that it was the American dream. No, turned out to be the American nightmare because was I in a cubicle? No, it was better because I can actually move around and like be in front of people and did what I wanted to do. But I learned everything from scratch without any business experience running a restaurant business like as a 20 something year old. It was so crazy. And then 5 years in, I realized it was not my life. I had to brush up the courage to tell my mom
Mm.
that this is not for me. But that's not. I just want to share that background story to really tell you that from 15 all the way up to when I was done with the restaurant. How old was I? Oh my goodness, like maybe 30. Um, I was completely burnt out. I wanted to like just shut everything down. But still, like I didn't have much of a urge yet to do anything. And really what really changed everything for my life was that the week of my wedding, when my boyfriend I dated for 6 years proposed, we were getting married. The week of our wedding, I lost my best friend to suicide.
Oh, wow.
So I buried her July 4th, and our wedding was July 7th. She was supposed to be a part of the wedding party. I intentionally share that story because it is all related. That was also the moment where I realized I was suffering in silence. I was
Mm.
suffering from depression, anxiety, and silence because this whole entire time since 15 all the way to up until then, I was trying to heal myself. But all of that stress and trauma, just had me developed the condition. And that's when I said, this is probably my purpose because I went to school and want to be a therapist. But now
Mm.
losing my best friend, first and foremost, I need, first of all, the responsibility to heal myself first if I wanted to help anybody.
Mm.
And that was also a moment where I had to choose. It was really a matter of life and death, right? Like if I choose the other route, I may have end up being like her. But at the same time, I was like, why am I supposed to have this experience? Well, I'm supposed to come through the other side. So I just basically, through the pain, it became my purpose, right? I healed myself holistically from all levels. That's how I launched my business. Fit to profit means you have to be holistically fit, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially fit to be running a thriving business. And that's what I mean when I say you have to heal, like you have to build wealth from the inside out. So
Yeah.
that's really my journey. And those are the two biggest moments and pivotal moments that I have experienced to, become who I am today.
Wow. I thank you so much for sharing that and opening up because I think some people,
Mhm.
especially the listeners right now, can relate so much to your story and your honest and vulnerability of sharing. Because when you said that you had moments of shifts throughout, and I think one that I would like to dive into that came right before another pivotal moment for you was is that you had started to gain awareness around that you weren't living true to yourself. And
Right.
I think that's so important. And I think there's so many listeners that can benefit from what you're sharing. Because I too was a victim of, I think this is what I should be doing, or maybe this is what I got myself into, and I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to stay stuck. Let's just put it that way. And for you, you had this dream and you had this thing and you thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I want to do this with my mom or whatever went through your head. But when you kind of talked about that, about you realized I have to be able to stand in my own truth and my own worth and be able to talk to my mom and share from your own heart and your experience. Let's dive into that a little bit more about how you can help, the person listening right now thinking, man, I am in that moment right now in my life. I have been either living for someone else's dream, I've been living in the shadows of someone else, I've been living for everybody else but my true self and that authentic just alignment for them. So what were you going through at that point? Like what was that moment in your what shifted for you? Where did you come from a place to be able to express how you were truly feeling to someone as close as your mother?
Yes. And so, well, of course, I have been questioning, right, since 15, right? Like, wait,
Mm,
why am I doing this? Why am
yeah.
I doing this? And things like that. And all the way up. And it was the first mistake was getting my first corporate job and was like, wow, no, not for me. And then the restaurant and then having it lasted and things like that was when like, why, why am I doing everything right? Right?
Mm,
According to someone else's playbook and nothing is working out.
ah,
Something is not right here. Like I did everything that everyone else wanted me to do. I fulfilled every single expectation. Wish I could have gone to medical school, but I just felt like I wanted to stay back because I knew my mom wanted me more at home helping her with the business.
mm,
No blame, no shame around that, but it just happened to be the situation, the circumstance then. But why did I do that, right? It's because then I realized I was like, oh, I have a power in my choice. Well, it just happened to be something else, and I get to own that. And that
mm,
was the first time when I really start learning about being responsible, right? For my own stuff. We can beep that out, but that's exactly it. It's because I did it all wrong, you guys. I did everything wrong, and I did all of it wrong, so that way I can sit in front of you today and be like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." Right? I've did everything wrong, so I can tell you what to do today, and that has everything to do with there's it. That's why if you are feeling drained, if you're feeling like
mm,
you're procrastinating, if you're feeling you're questioning yourself why you're doing certain things, and it's not like a hell yes, you got to answer to yourself, right? Because
yeah.
that's exactly what was happening, right? All the
Mm,
way up until when I started my business was like, why am I doing this? And guess what? The reason here's why building wealth from the inside out is so important is because when I since 15 all the way up till that first very moment where I said I'm gonna do things my way was
mm,
I was trying to validate myself,
mm,
right? I was trying to validate myself. I was trying to fulfill someone's expectations of me so I can prove myself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's a
you
sticky situation. I feel like that could that hit a lot of people right here.
oh gosh,
So,
right? And
yeah.
I did. I was so successful.
Mhm.
I was so successful at doing that.
Mm,
But then who did I disappoint? Who
mm,
who developed depression, anxiety? And now what? Right? And it was that moment of life and death. Like I can keep doing this
mhm,
and always having to go through cycles of burnout. I mean, a good thing I never had to get on medication or anything like that. But if I kept this direction of
right.
really proving the world that I'm worthy instead of really getting into learning the reasons why I am in existence, that's the difference.
Mm,
And I chose life. And life means or meant for me then was I want to do things my way. I'm going to do it however I want to. I'm going to do it in alignment with what I believe in. And that was the moment also when I started answering that question that I always had inside of me is like, what are you meant to be? Like
mm.
what are you really going to leave behind? When is your time to go? Right? Like just like because I lost my best friend right there, right? And that moment was when if I had to go, like, how do I want to be remembered? Right. It's so morbid sometimes, but it's like, it's that is what gets me up in the morning. Now I
Right.
have kids. That's why I wrote a book because even if when I'm gone, something is left, behind this world to allow others to know, to believe in their own potential. Because we're like barely scratching the surface of what we're capable of.
Yeah, and I want to capitalize on that because I think when you say that, there's so many people sitting there thinking, gosh, who do I want to be? What do I want? What does light me up? And I think that that's so powerful because a lot of times we tend to overcomplicate the situations that we're in our life. And a lot of times I hate that I sometimes have to say that the blessing or the lesson has to come from something as like a tragedy or the setbacks and the challenges that we all talk about and we all face. And I wonder why sometimes that when we know deep down inside of us, we aren't in that alignment and we're just, like you said, kind of grinding and we're just kind of rolling with it. And in all reality, that grind and that roll is creating us to feel so less than and so worthy and deserving of what actually lights our soul on fire.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of dive into that a little bit with you because I think that you have already said that when you weren't in alignment, it was like you were grinding and you were just and so how can someone who's really new to this and thinking, gosh, okay, I think I'm out of alignment here. I need that readjustment. What were the first thoughts for you that went through your head when you say, okay, this is who I want to be and this is what I want to become? Someone that's really sitting here thinking, okay, what is my next best step or what's that first, I always say the hardest or the most courageous step is that very first one, right? And a lot of times we say I don't even know where to take that first step, but
Yeah.
like you said, if you're feeling it and you're unaligned and you're always grinding and you're getting that burnout feeling, what for the listener right now would you say would be that one kind of step to say, you know what, I'm listening to it, I'm becoming aware of it, and then starting to kind of move through the process?
Yeah, I love that. And you actually said it too, probably unintentionally
Yeah.
without really knowing it, right? Like we all like our own teachers in a way. It's that moment when I of course, right? Remember the burnt out, the loss, and I'm like, okay, now what? I need to heal myself. What do I do? Right? Like I had no
Yeah.
playbook. I had no access, like didn't have any access to anyone, a mentor in that space.
Hmm.
It's like what was the one thing that I really adored so much and I did it so much in the past that no matter what happens, I did it? It was working out. I
Oh.
was that little girl that was working out in her room, right? Like watching like workout videos and doing my own thing, doing my own sit-ups and doing my own workout in my room. I was like, I want to go back to doing that because that
Mm.
was so much fun, right? So I would say, what's the one thing that you used to do or you love doing that you wish that you can have time to do, but you don't do because whatever the circumstance, whatever, trust me, my husband travels 80% of time. I have two kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old and a business, actually
Right.
multiple businesses. So I don't want to hear that you don't have time. But here's the thing,
Right.
you need to get back, right? We talk about alignment.
Mm.
You need to get back to asking yourself, what's the one thing, you said it, that lights you up,
Mm-hmm.
right? That lights you up. And I say this, and it's true. For me, it was working out. You don't have to go work out.
No.
Do you have a pet? And does it light you up to your pet? Do that, right? Does it, I don't know, light you up to read a good book? Maybe you're drinking a good cup of coffee. Like, I don't know. It has to be something that is so relaxing and also nurturing. And it's
Yes.
self-care related that we don't do. Or
Yeah.
like that we have may have done or haven't gotten to it or whatever is always in the back of your mind. And it's always comes back to self-care,
Yeah.
because the foundation for building self-worth, guys, like you said, is we make it so complicated. The
Mm-hmm.
foundation for self-worth is self-care.
Mm. As
That
simple as that, right?
Yeah. And my journey started with me working out, which led to long distance running, which led to yoga, which led to holistic certification,
Mm-hmm.
holistic health certification, which led to starting my business. I didn't know exactly what to do. Fit to Profit didn't just come out of the blue next day. And like, here's what I'm going to do. No, I follow just one little thing that I knew how. So I have two things to say about this. Whoever wants to get started, number one, you can't get it wrong when it comes to
Mm.
wanting to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Secondly, it compounds over time.
Mm.
That's why, just like freaking interest, yeah, you guys, I can't just get into my stable like weight overnight. You didn't gain the weight overnight either. And that's what happened. So it gets to be incremental, and you have to really honor yourself in the process. That's how you build self-worth. People think it's like, oh, I'm just going to read this book. No, you have to do the work, and it compounds over time, and you can't get it wrong, because one thing will lead you to the next thing, to the next thing, and everything's going to start unraveling for you when you're ready for
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh man, that's so good. I love it because I sit over here and when I talk out loud and you talk and you just start to go, wow. And I love to point that out because so many people think you have to go from one to the other. And
Yeah.
there's the compound effect and the way that it's some days are going to feel so easy and in such this pure bliss, and other days are going to feel like, what in the hell just happened overnight? Why am I back to where I felt 3 weeks ago? And I even have that moment. I'm telling you, it's something that I think that we have to start embracing and being able to share as other women and even men, to understand that there are days where you are working and you are feeling so good, and
Mhm.
then something happens and you're like,
Oh,
well,
mhm.
what the hell? Why did I just do all that? Why did what happened here? And why? And then the question and the cycle begins again. But you can really work through these moments with some of these very simple things. And I like to talk about that. If you don't become aware of it, you're never going to make the changes. And so it's so important, like you said, it's like acknowledge and understand, what is it that lights you up. I was told by a mentor, well, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I don't really know. And it's kind of one of those questions that sometimes you have to sit with for a second. And like you said, go back to what you did even when you were a kid, dancing or doing the lifting and hang, whatever it is, petting your dog, like you said. I love it. It could be as simple as that. And then the question came back to, well, what is it? And I answered, and I said, playing volleyball and just being outside, really playing sports. And she said, well, when was the last time you did it? And I said, well, I don't know, probably a decade ago. And so really that's when your eyes go, like, just like you just did. It's like you open and go, well, okay, if that's something that brings you joy and makes you feel this sense of igniting in your own power, why don't you do it and do it often?
Yes, exactly.
So I just love that. And I love that you shared that it can be as simple as petting your own dog. It can be as simple as walking out and looking at the sun, the moon, the stars, whatever has that true alignment in your soul. And so I just love that you share that, because I think that a lot of times, like we've mentioned already, we overcomplicate growth. We overcomplicate success. And I know I am guilty as charged with doing that even over the last probably 6 months. And so just remind yourself that even when I raised my hand and it raised my hand for me. I love that. Yeah, so just yeah, I love to talk about that because that overcomplication all the times just seems like that's what makes people stay stuck because it's current and it's this and the chaos is familiar and all that. So, what else can you kind of enlighten us on that it has really made that shift for you that has just seems to me like you are living in your truth, your ease, you're building a successful business, and success to you could be different than success to me, but what is that like for you? How can you make us kind of enlightened on you chose that pivotal moment for yourself. You've stood in your truth and now I think you said you have a book, you have businesses. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. So remember, if you get anything from hearing us today,
Mm-hmm.
drop the third thing, but the two things you have already heard. Number one, you can't get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, your investment in yourself, it compounds over time.
Mm-hmm.
And third, guess what? We talked about it already. The grind and the hustle, the supposeds, the
Mm,
shoulds, all of that is, guess what, guys? It's generational. We were taught to work hard and it has to be hard, right?
mm,
That's why I took my route and tried corporate. Oh man, it was hard, right? It was hard because I was not made for it. Brick and mortar, yes, it was great, but it was hard. I'm not
mm,
made for that. I am designed to have this kind of conversation and being able to like dig a hole in a conversation and get someone to like, get up off of their seat and go do something about it. So honestly, I even have a hack here, guys. I have an easy
Ooh,
one.
my mom had one of those.
So we need to get back to it gets to be easy because if
Mm,
you're really in alignment with who you are as a person, your life aligns to that, to those
mm,
values. So for example, my day operate through my 5 F's or 4 or 5, depends on what you want. Is faith is my number one. Fitness is second.
mm,
Family's third. Fulfillment is last. Finances is the last piece because it touches everything. And I'll be a coward not to add that as a certified money coach, right? You have to have all of those elements. And what are you doing to stand behind in each and every one of those values on the daily basis?
mm. Now,
That's is that simple. And that's what I did to have what I have today. And because I'm answering your question in a more elaborate way, is because I have my values, I follow my values.
mm,
Then in those values, I get to be intentional with what I
mm,
get to involve myself in. That's why I'm able to do what I'm able to do with alignment, with energy, with clarity, with passion, with love, you name it,
mm,
whatever you want. But that's why you can see two people walk into the room. One person, you're like, oh, who is she? I want to meet her versus, I'm not sure. Right. So, who do you want to be? You
yeah.
have to really step into who you want to be. And we have the be, do, have philosophy over here is who do you want to be? So that way you do what you need to do to have what you want to have.
Mm,
The grind and the hustle movement is so expired, like it's expired, guys. Okay, so you need to get back to really being in alignment with who you are, because it's not about the opposite culture is, oh, if I have a great job and I do what I do to make a lot of money and I'll be happy. No, that's that's the opposite of the truth. So you
mm,
have to be, do, have. So really step up to who you want to be, which is a worthy, confident woman and entrepreneur. Then you will
mhm,
do the things, meaning you take care of yourself on a very basic and foundational level. Then you can have whatever you want, right? that
mm,
that's really to answer your question. So yeah, like that. And that's my true definition of success is, people work 40 hours, 60 hours. No, I work 15 to 20. I can't. I mean, I have 2 kids. I have to For example, today we have a concert and I want to be there, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow they have a Christmas thing. I want to be there, So that's what I really want people to hear me is that you get to design your life and business and work in alignment with who you are as a person. And if you're not there yet, guess what? You can start today. Don't
Yeah.
say someday, rather today be day one for you, right? To be on the journey.
I love that. And it's so powerful what you just said. And so I kind of just want to leave it there because I think that this is something that the listener could say right now, go back 5 minutes and listen to that whole thing. I kept like in my head kept thinking. And one thing I wanted to point out too is that you mentioned your 4 or 5 F's and you have them in order, but that doesn't mean that they don't all get attention. And I wanted to point that out because you said family was third, but does that mean that your family doesn't get the attention? And you said it intentionally with what it is that you value and that brings that soul alignment to yourself, and that's so important. So I want the listener to hear that again, that you mentioned your process, and that doesn't mean that those people come last or after something else. It's in alignment with what you are. And so that was just so powerful. And everything that you said after that, I just kept thinking, this is it. This is what people need to hear to be able to stand in their truth and go after the life that they truly have wanted to create for themselves. And it's never too late.
No,
The
it's
time
about,
is now.
it depends. It's never, so you always have that mindset of it's being too late because you never got started, right?
Right. Yeah, and it feels so far away, right? It's you're already thinking too hard. It's too hard. It's too far away. I'm too old. So stop doing the twos, and really align with that. And so I wanted to just kind of wrap up here and say, thank you for it was a very quick, just boom, boom, boom ways and things to take right now and move forward. And what I like to do is I want to make sure that the listeners know where to find you. So please give the listeners where they can find you and connect with you. And then also too, I am doing something at the end of every episode is a mic drop moment. And it is something that you can say for the listener to get off the couch, get off the business, get started with something, start moving in the direction, making their own power shift. What would that one powered punch mantra, something that you could say. So where can we find you and learn more about you? And then what is your mic drop moment?
Okay. Well, I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can also Google me by using my name. You will find me. For all seriousness, right? Like if I have to say anything, is defy your lie. What is the lie that you are living right now? Because that is what is keeping you stuck or keeping you exactly where you don't want to be.
Wow. That is the mic drop right there. That is that powerful in all seriousness. So, DeDee, I thank you so much for this because in this very compacted episode, there are so many ahas and takeaways, even for myself. So I hope the listeners can go back and jot some things down and make this the start of your new incredible journey of life and take these simple tactical things and just start and identify that lie that you've been telling to yourself. I love that so much. So thank you so much, DeDee, for your time. It was absolute pleasure. And I hope the listeners are just as inspired as I am.
Thank you again so much and really believe in yourself. Today is day one.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to the PowerShift. I hope today's episode inspired you to see setbacks as stepping stones and embrace the beauty in the chaos. Real growth happens when we align with our true selves and live unapologetically. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps more incredible people like you discover the show. Until next time, keep making those power shifts and step boldly into the life that's authentically yours.